Alright, welcome back to a new video here in the channel, and I'm going to show a little bit of the progress on Sunthrone, my game project. In this video I'm going to show you a store functionality that I implemented for the player to use. The first thing that I did, and I'm showing here, is to develop a UI for the store to be used. So if you recall, in a previous video I did a little barrack scene that had an NPC, and this NPC is gonna call the store when prompted by the player. So here the first thing that I'm doing is creating a double panel UI, and in one half of the panel I'm going to hold the information from the units that I can buy, and in the other half of the panel I'm going to be actually giving the player some controls so he can execute the purchase of units. Now, doing a UI and developing a UI is, I gotta say, one of my least favorite aspects of game development. I like it, but it's a lot of work and it is not as flashy as creating new mechanics or making the player do cool stuff or implementing a magic system or whatever it is that we're doing, but it's very meticulous and you gotta do a lot of detailing in text alignment, image alignment, what containers to use, how to display it all, and you have to connect it because generally these UIs are going to be dynamically updated with the game, as we're going to see in a short moment. So it's a lot of work, but it's rewarding when you see it done. In the left pane I'm going to have a container, a scrolling container that's gonna hold the units that the player can purchase for a particular store. So in the final version of the game I have this vision of multiple kinds of stores, so the player can buy infantry units from one NPC, can buy tanks or artillery from another NPC and things like that. And here in the right side of the panel I'm creating a menu controller, right? So I'm putting some buttons. I'm trying to design on the color palette that I was going to use for the menu, and I wanted to give it a military theme or utilitarian theme, so my first approach was to use this purple with the aquamarine that you see there, and it wasn't really working very well. I thought it was very gaudy, so I started to review the color palette that I was using, and I ended up settling for this gray, which is much more boring, it's not as flashy, but I think it suits a little bit better with the themes of the game. We're supposed to be managing an army. Not really. We are not supposed to be doing this in a fantasy setting or I don't know, a science fiction setting that much, so the bright color palettes might not be as appropriate. I wanted to give it a little bit of a grittiness. And I know it sounds pretentious really, but in reality choosing colors that match the theme that you want for your game is a hard decision, but it needs to be done. Okay, so after the UI is more or less complete, I have this tile sheet, this sprite sheet for an army, which has all the units that the player can buy. I got this from a pre-made asset pack which I bought, and I'm gonna put the link in the description. By the way, it's very hard to find this kind of tile maps or tile sets for army sprites. It's very hard because I don't know, it's not really a very popular genre, so it's much easier to find things like fantasy or action RPG kind of thing, but strategy games are not really that popular, so I guess that you don't find as many artists willing to create sprite sheets for this kind of game. But I found this, which is very good. I think the graphics were very good looking in this one, so that's why I bought it. And here I'm just configuring like the slice of this. Time to make some pre-made units, which is more fun. As you can see, I created a few units there. I created an infantry guy, anti-tank guy, and a tank guy, and artillery guy. So those are the units that our store is going to initially offer. and now we're going to see how I'm going to connect them with the store UI. Okay, so the way to do this is to create a little box that is gonna have the unit information, the cost, the name, and an image box that's carrying the sprite, and then connect it to the game logic through something called the MVC pattern, Model View Controller, which is something that is very used for a website, and it can be applied for games for these kind of cases where you want to have like display information of multiple things at once in a UI. It works pretty well. So it also is going to have a couple of controls there for the player to be able to choose, select a unit. And here you can see some of the early attempts of the UI. All the units were like banded together. It wasn't looking very well, so I had to experiment a little bit on how to show that, how to display it, so it looked kind of acceptable. But yeah, in the final run of the game, you can see here, you can go by the building as that we did before, go inside, and then you walk up to the NPC, and yeah, there you go, that's the store. You can select units and it's gonna carry the cost that you have. You can purchase and it's gonna discount from your credit inventory. And then if you go into a post menu that I also created, you can see your army, the army that you just purchased. And those buttons there are meant to upgrade or delete units, which I didn't program just yet. But yeah, that's the store functionality. I'm gonna leave it here for now. Don't forget to subscribe and support the channel, and any questions you have, just drop me a comment. That will help the channel a lot and I love it.